guys, it's Mystic here. So this is series 2 of Every Sign of Love. The last episode was, oh shoot, I forgot the name. The last one was called Paint Me and Trust. So we're doing the next work on the series called Carve Your Name into My Heart. I'll have the link to the series and to the work inside the description. This is 2 chapters. I thought it was only 1 chapter, so I might make this in 2 different videos, just mainly because it's getting late and I have a long day tomorrow. But I wanted to record this because I didn't get a chance to record some yesterday. But yeah, so for further notice, well, what the fuck? What did I say that? Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, this is a general audience, and I hope you enjoy. Chapter 1. Seems strange. Bakugou is 4 years old when he decides he doesn't care about soulmates. 2 weeks after Bakugou's quirks comes in, 2 weeks after he is told in no uncertain terms that he is the best, the strongest, Midoriya walks into the preschool classroom with red tinged eyes and tells Bakugou with a forced smile about his doctor's appointment, about his own quirk and how it doesn't exist. All Bakugou can think is, "I'm better than you." The dust of soot black on Midoriya's, no, he's just Deku now, on Deku's finger disappear pretty quickly after that. It's there and then gone all at once. And a few days after, the green on Bakugou's knuckles disappears too. His father is concerned at first, wondering why his son's soul mark would just disappear. It's not unheard of people stop loving each other or in worst cases die all the time. But a mark disappears off a 4-year-old whose friend is still very much alive? Don't you find that a bit strange? He asks Bakugou's mother. Mitsuki laughs, a harsh, unforgiving sound. Look at him, little bastard probably thinks he's too good for soulmates. The thing is, she's right, except it's not that he thinks he's too good for soulmates, he is too good for soulmates. Whatever force in the universe that decides things taught him and weakling Deku were soulmates, and how ridiculous is that? Bakugou doesn't deserve soulmates or their stupid marks. He's just fine on his own. For a long time, the only soul mark Bakugou has are from his parents. Mitsuki is a long purple streak on the back of his shoulder, the meeting point between her forearm and his newborn body as she cradles him. Masaru is a beige spot on the side of his ankle. The first spot he could reach leaning over the hospital bed. Neither of them are easily visible when he's wearing his school uniform. And they're both hard for his parents to access. Bakugou likes it better this way. Less gushy shit about cuddling or touching soul marks or whatever. The other kids try to touch him a lot. He lets it happen just for the satisfaction he feels when they pull away and realize they haven't gained a new color. Their empty space is just another reminder of a distance between them, of how much better Bakugou is. He doesn't give a shit about any of them. Sometimes Umeda high-fives him, or Osaki hands him his lunch and their bare skin touches. Bakugou feels a little jolt. Not the kind that announces a new soulmate, but the kind that says he's afraid. He always double-checks afterwards that his skin is still colorless. All Might never shows his soul mark. His suit reaches from the top of his neck to the tips of his fingers. There isn't a single color on his face. There's an interview that comes out when Bakugou is 9. A TV show host, a woman with bright green hair and scales on her face, leans forward in her chair with a mischievous smile. "So," she says in a mock whisper, "I know we won't get any details out of you, but at least tell us, are there any special marks under that costume of yours?" His smile doesn't waver. "Of course, but, I can't say much else than that, for the protection of those close to me." Bakugou rolls his eyes. He knows the truth. Under the blue, red, and gold is just bare skin. There's no way anyone can match the strength of All Might. He's just lying to make people feel better, like they have a shot. He does wonder what it would feel like briefly to touch All Might and see the soot black appear on his skin. Probably pretty good, but it would of course disappear when Bakugou takes number 1. Every once in a while he sees Deku rubbing his hand during class. He always glances up at Bakugou as he does so. His eyes pathetically shining with tears, and makes his heat spark in Bakugou, the kind that simmers deep down in his bones, impossible to ignore. Those are days when he hits the hardest, just to prove that his knuckles still come away clean. A new kid shows up during their first year of middle school. His name is Amari Haruto, and his quirk lets him dissolve things into a big puddle of goo. Bakugou doesn't really think he's all that, but everyone else does. Amari gets a third best test score a week. After he arrives, his placing only after Deku and Bakugou. And when he demonstrates his power at their next quirk assessment test, the teachers marvel over the control and precision he has. He's debating whether he should punch Amari to put him in his place or knock him on his ass with an explosion when said asshole plops down at Bakugou's lunch table with a smirk. "So," Amari says, not giving Bakugou any chance to speak, I heard you were the top dog around here." "And?" he growls. He can already feel the nitroglycerin collecting in his palm and the itchy spark beneath his skin. Umeda and Osaki, not so subtly, start scooting back in their chairs, giving each other nervous glances. "Figure I should formally introduce myself." The other boy leans forward, even though he's smiling. Bakugou recognizes the competitive glint in his eyes. "Hamari Haruto. Guess we're both going to be vying for the top spot, huh?" "I already have it," Bakugou snaps back. Comment emphasized with the pop 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 of his palms. Not for long. The chair screeches as Bakugou leaps to his feet, hands slamming down on the table. "Watch your mouth, you motherfucker." "Calm the fuck down," Amari says, entirely unfazed. He sticks his hand out, just looking for a little friendly competition, that's all. Anger burns its way through Bakugou's veins as he glares at Amari's hand. He doesn't hesitate before slapping it away, but everything comes to a stand, still when their skin touch and he feels a jolt of something. It's not possible, it's not. Amari isn't anywhere near Bakugou's level. There's no way. His heart thumps rapidly as he turns to his hand over checking. Nothing there. Amari gets up and walks away without another word, leaving Bakugou just stand there looking at his hand confused. Why does the emptiness feel wrong? "Are you okay? Did he try and melt you?" Osaki says. "No," he growls as he thumbs back down in his seat, hands still popping a bit. Worry about yourself, shitface." A few weeks later, Amari leaves and doesn't come back. Something about transferring to some fancy private school or whatever. Bakugou ignores the voice in the back of his head that says, "Thank fucking God," and pretends that the seat has always been empty. Despite that one Amari-shaped exception, Bakugou's middle school experience is mostly more of the same. He trains as hard as much as he can outside school. His parents can't afford to hire a personal trainer or whatever, but he doesn't need that shit anyway. Everything he needs, he got with fire in his hands and the abandoned lot of a mile from his house. During school, Umeda and Osaki keep following him around like stray dogs and keep putting the loser in their place. And then one day, that changes. It starts with stupid Deku announcing that he's going to apply for UA. Everyone starts laughing, but Bako nearly explodes. Who does that little bastard thinks he is? Doesn't even have a quirk, and he wants to compete with Bakugou to get into the top hero school in Japan? And the worst part is, even as Bakugou has him literally cornered on the floor, back to the wall, Deku's still trying to explain himself. Soul tries to argue that he can be a hero. His green eyes shine with determination, and Bakugou remembers the empty space on his knuckle, the place where they used to be the same green, where the connection he severed used to be. Deku's eyes flicker to his hand, so he must be thinking about the same thing. When he makes eye contact with Bakugou again, he looks at his face pleading but hopeful, and Bakugou can feel it again. Those pricks of heat along his bones, and he's had enough. After school, when the teachers are gone, Bakugou opens his mouth and does more damage than his explosion could ever. Says as a casual, "Take a swan dive off the roof." Feels something in those green eyes flicker out even though he's not looking at them. His hands always itching with the need to burn, but as he walks away, he swears his knuckles itch the most. His whole life, Bakugou counted on the fire in his hands to get him through anything. It's what made everyone look at him as a 4-year-old and whispers he's special. It was made other kids bow to his every whim, in what's going to carry him to number one. And yet, Bakugou forges that fire, trained it, and made it stronger. But in the end of the day, he still depends on it. So when it fails him, his world shakes. The sludge is everywhere, all over his skin, soaked in his clothes, seeping down to the back of his throat, like it's trying to claim his lungs, and he tries so hard to blow it all away, but any of it that he destroys comes right back. He got so much power, the villain growls above him. Around him, I really hit the jackpot with a quirk like yours under my control. Bakugou doesn't hear the rest over the pounding of his heart in his ears. He wants to scream at the thoughts of power being someone else's. The idea that this villain could just use the explosion like he was the one who spent hours, days, weeks, months mastering them. And then out of the smoke and flames, Erika stares Deku, sprinting towards him like something invisible is dragging him along. He thinks about the empty space on his knuckle, about the connection that is supposed to run more than skin deep. You didn't help me. Mitsuki drags him into a hug as soon as he steps through the door, ignoring the sludge that still sticks onto him. His school jacket is gone altogether, collected by the cops as part of evidence. He pushes aside his collar enough to touch the beginning of the mark on her wrist, to the mark on his back. Bakugou lets her just for a moment. You did nothing. He spent an hour in the shower, the water turning as hot as it goes. For once, his mother doesn't yell at him for wasting water. Don't forget it. Afterwards, he goes to his room and locks the door, sits on his bed, tangles his finger in the sheets, and presses his knuckle into the blanket. I don't owe you anything. He doesn't think about Deku trying to claw the slug off him so he could breathe. Frantic tears spilling out of his green eyes. He doesn't think about All Might saving the day with a single punch, about the few colors the Bakugou spotted on the man's bare arms. He doesn't think about anything. Something about Deku has changed. It's not like he was really involved in school. Most of the kids either laughed at him or talked over him whenever he rose his hand, if the teacher bothered to acknowledge him at all. But now, whenever Bakugou glances at him, the shitty nerd doesn't even seem to be taking notes. He's always muttering under his breath about something, brushing off right after school, like he used to back in elementary school when Bakugou and Tsubasa used to chase him. And sometimes Bakugou catches Deku rubbing his wrist through the fabric of his sleeve with a soft smile, but he doesn't look at his hand the way he used to. Whatever, Bakugou got better things to do than pay attention to a loser like Deku. The UA exams are in a few months, and he's not gonna let the weirdo distract him from his school. Nothing can stop him from getting into that school. 77 points. The bell rings and Bakugou stops, chest heaving, palm burning, robots lying in a halo of wreckage around him. Deku's nowhere in sight. He thinks, this is what victory feels like. When Deku walks into the classroom, it takes everything Bakugou has not to explode, especially when the annoying round-faced barrels into Deku, shunning how they're soulmates or whatever. That explains the fresh pink soul mark on his cheek then. Even as Racerhead comes in and introduces himself, even as he leads them off to the field for a quick assessment test, Bakugou can't help but glare at Deku. All Might's not wearing his gloves when he explains the exercise to them. One of his palms is stained green. Green like Deku's hair, like Deku's eyes. It's not possible, Bakugou decides. Plenty of people have dark green as their color. Deku's not fucking special. It all comes to a head at the end of the first hero training. Bakugou's chest is heaving, and the gauntlets are like blocks of cement weighing on his tired arms. But he lifts one up anyways. There's a small voice in the back of his head telling him to stop, reconsider, but then Deku stands up by the window. In the light of day, Bakugou finally sees his bare hands exposing the burnt away fabric on his costume. It's gold, like the accents of All Might's suit. Bakugou charges. He loses. He lost. He fought Deku, that shitty ass nerd who apparently just got his quirk. He fucking lost. Deku was weak. Deku got soulmates. Deku suddenly isn't weak anymore? No. It was one thing, a fluke. He tells Deku as much before beginning to storm away. It won't happen again. He won't let it. He'd rather blow the school to hell than lose to fucking Deku again. He feels more than hears it when All Might arrives. The shadow cast is large, engulfing Bakugou all together as he comes behind him and exclaims, "Bakugou, there you are. Bakugou, there you are. I want to say." The hero's hand comes down heavy on Bakugou's shoulder, and one of his thumbs brushes dangerously close to Bakugou's neck, and all Bakugou can see is a green stain on the man's palm and the empty space of his knuckles. He doesn't think, he just yanks himself out of All Might's cast and snarls, "I don't need you," and he runs. Bakugou spends the next few days largely ignoring his classmates. There is some kind of class president election, he knows, but he doesn't really care about it. He doesn't give a shit about Deku sitting behind him. He doesn't give a shit about the kids who've already come up and tried to introduce himself. He certainly doesn't give a single shit about a bunch of them being soulmates or whatever. Sorry. He does, however, give a shit about his stupid classmates talking crap on him. Bakugou's always angry, so he'll never be that popular, says Frog Girl. It wasn't If it wasn't for Aizawa already eyeing Bakugou in the bus's rearview mirror, he'd probably blow her up. It takes nearly all his control not to let a few sparks loose when fucking Pikachu jumps in too. Deku smiles, but it drops when he spots the glare Bakugou shoots at him. For a guy who can basically turn his skin into rocks, shitty hair is way too soft-hearted. Since when do y'all act all calm and rational? Usually you're all like, I don't know, explosions, die, you know? He's also a fucking idiot. I'm always calm and rational, you red-haired loser, Bakugou growls. He doesn't have the time for this. He raps bastard could be anywhere. And who knows how many villains he'll run into on his way. And there's this weird feeling he can't shake, not adrenaline or fear or anger. Just a sensation like he's going to draw towards something. He doesn't know what. His gut says he'd rather not find out. Shitty hair grins, exposing those fucking daggers he calls teats. Nah, I think what you're saying is that you believe it's in our classmates, and that's thinking like a man, Bakugou. He says nothing, just glares at the other boy, but that's a mistake, because as soon as he makes eye contact, the feeling of being sucked in gets stronger and stronger, like a forced gravity, until he feels like he might fall over. It takes everything as he has to turn and start walking. He almost thinks it works for a second, but then shitty hair catch up. You know, Bakugou, we made a pretty good team back. It should have just been a simple touch. Shitty hair bumps his knuckle against Bakugou's bare bicep. And then that's it. Except the second it happens, the feeling releases like whatever been dragging him towards the feeling. Towards it. Like whatever dragging him towards it had found him. He doesn't want to look at his arm. He does anyway. Imprint on his bare skin is the outline of a crimson red fist. Oh, Shitty Hair says, and all Bakugou can think is Kirishima. Shitty Hair's name is Kirishima. After the fight, after the villain, after watching Deku shatter half of his limbs to protect someone who shouldn't even have needed protecting, Bakugou stands outside of the USJ and watches as the paramedic and police stream in and out of the building, with the exception of Deku. The entire class is with him, waiting for one of the teachers to get freed from duty and drive them back to campus, which means that exactly nowhere to stomp off to when Kirishima approaches. Hey, Bakugou, he says. He's smiling. It's more cautious now, like he's approaching a dangerous animal. Bakugou doesn't know whether he should be proud or offended. So, we're soulmates? Bakugou rolls his eyes and drags Kirishima by the arm at the edge of the group, out of the earshot more gossipy ones. Birdheads eyes them and they move away, but for the most part, everyone's still coming down from their terror-fueled adrenaline rush. I know we haven't known each other for long, but honestly I feel... Shut up. Bakugou growls. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, it kinda does, dude, Kirishima says, giving a light disbelieving laugh. We're soulmates, marked. He holds his hand up, waggling the knuckles, and Bakugou, like he can't see the soot black stain across them. Soulmates are a load of bullshit. Tiny explosion pops in Bakugou's palms, and there's not enough for Kirishima to notice. You used a lot of nitroglycerin in the last couple hours. Kirishima frowns. That's not right, man. Whatever. Bakugou turns, beginning to walk backwards towards the group. Think whatever the fuck you want to think. But I don't need your stupid fucking mark, and I don't need you. The empty space on his knuckles, this feeling of slapping away Amari's hand, the red on his bicep, clear as day, that no matter how much he glares at it, it won't disappear. This doesn't change anything. Honestly, Bakugou should have realized that the boy who somehow marked him, and also appears to have a head as thick as his skin, wouldn't accept the universe made a mistake, or at very least would be scared off by Bakugou's careless, cultivating, resting bitch face and sporadic popping of his palms to burn off nitroglycerin. But no, apparently Kirishima is determined to follow him everywhere. It starts with lunch. Bakugou snags his own table with a few glares and carefully controls pops. But as he unpacks his bento box, Kirishima drops to the seat next to him, immediately begins talking. When Bakugou lifts his hand threateningly, the other boy merely hardens the skin on his arms and keeps going. And of course, Kirishima in Class 1A residence ball of sunshine. Seriously, the Baron actually voted on that. All of his friends followed him. Bakugou's solitary lunch table became a gaggle of idiots. The gaggle of idiots table. Anything he tries to switch tables, they just follow him. It doesn't stop there. Kirishima sticks by him during the training exam. Any time they get to pick pairs for sparring, he claims Bakugou right away. Bakugou would fight it more, but Kirishima's the one and only one who has the natural defense against his quirk. Makes it more interesting to fight, even if Bakugou still ends up winning every time. He knows it's not permanent. He'll get rid of it eventually, but for now, he can deal with it. Deku has more soul marks. Bakugou was pointedly ignoring him since the USJ, so it takes him a bit to notice, but once he does, it feels like they're all he sees whenever he looks at Deku. Green stripe over his forearm, blue smudge on his elbow. If Raccoon Eyes wasn't practically a walking painting, maybe he'd have more of a reaction for the collection Deku seems to be starting. The handprint on Frog Girl's arm, neatly placed, the brushes of various colors on them, on one kid's tail, the spots on the animal's freak's hands that rubs whenever he gets nervous, which is all the damn time apparently. All of them are multitudes of color, yet they're still so much weaker than him. Except Kirishima, who's practically got a rainbow over him. A rainbow that now includes Bakugou suit black, who deflects a surprise explosion from Bakugou the other day as he defended every other sparring partner Bakugou had. Except fucking Deku, who seems to get stronger and stronger with every damn mark he puts on himself. No, Bakugou is the best in the class and in the whole school. Now, the only one who even close to his level is icy hot. You seen that kid in the locker room? He's got more than one silver mark on his shoulder and somewhere no one can see. He's not wrong about soulmates. He knows it. When Kira asks him to team up for the cavalry battle, Bakugou hesitates. He doesn't want to say yes and have everyone assume it's because they're fucking soulmates or whatever. But when Kirishima explains why it did work, he doesn't have any choice but to accept. He needs to win. He needs to grind icy hot and that useless fucking nerd into the dust once and for all. Everything goes according to plan. But about 30 seconds before those 1B freaks swoop in and Bakugou feels every ounce of his body light on fucking fire with rage. He lets anger push him, let him feel the blast coming out of his palms, so he can get as high as possible. Let it eat any fear he should probably feel at the idea of plummeting towards the ground. Second time he pulls off the maneuver, Bakugou falls wrong. He is off just a bit and ends up tumbling mostly into Tape Boy's arm. His elbow hits Tape Boy's neck and sending him into a coughing fit. Kirishima and Rakunai barely manage to keep Bakugou from falling. It takes precious seconds that they don't have to back into formation and move, even as Tape Boy struggles to catch his breath. After them, Bakugou growls beneath him. Rakunai huffs as he keeps going to say something until he glances over at Tape Boy and yelps, "What's wrong? Is something coming after us?" Kirishima asks. "No, just Sarah, look at your neck." "What?" Sarah wheezes, craning his head awkwardly. I can't see anything." But Bakugou can. A giant smudge of soot black stretched across the front of Sarah's neck. He might have mistaken for part of Sarah's hair if it wasn't for the matching orangish color on Bakugou's elbow. "It doesn't matter," Bakugou snaps, ignoring the knot forming his chest. "Those fuckers are getting away." He refocuses their attentions. They're smart enough to know that cavalry battle first, soulmates later. He avoids Sarah's gaze and keeps an eye on Bakunai's hands for the rest of the fight, making sure her grip doesn't slip from his calf to the silver on his exposed ankle, just so he keeps his own damn sanity. Sarah turns to him the second Midnight's done announcing the results. His mouth's already open. Bakugou doesn't wait to hear anything, whatever bullshit he's about to spout. He only storms towards the locker room, ignoring the pounding of his heart, the pulsing of nitroglycerin below his skin. The door slams open, smacking off the wall. There's scorch marks on the handle, but he doesn't remember sending off any explosions. He moves to the center of the room and sucks a deep breath, trying to suppress the sparks in his hand. "Dude, are you good?" he says behind him, making him almost jump as he turns. He hadn't heard Bakugou following him. What the hell is wrong with him? "I'm fucking fine," he says. It's supposed to be a growl, but it's too rushed, too short of breath. "Is this about Sarah? Because I promise he's a really cool, I don't give a shit about that." Splotch on his elbow practically taunting him with obnoxious brightness. It makes him want to scream. It doesn't matter. The quiet for a moment, then Bakugou says, "It's okay if you're scared, Bakugou." Then there's such an earnest to the way he leans forward. There's shine in his eyes. "Soulmates are... I'm not scared," Bakugou shouts. Explosions popping like firecrackers in his palm. He jabs his finger in Kirishima's direction. Listen up, hair for brains, because I'm not gonna say it again. I'm here to become the top hero. Not prance around bonding with fucking soulmates. Or whatever, got it?" Her flicks across Kirishima's face. For a split second, he almost wishes he could take the words back. Almost. Then the other boy nods and says, "Yeah, okay, got it." As Kirishima walks toward the door, Bakugou leans against the locker and takes a deep breath in, trying to quell the fire building in his palms as he saves it. He doesn't need it if he needs to be whoever he's going against. I see how probably. It's so quiet that Bakugou nearly misses it, but before the door shuts, Kirishima says, "If soulmates really don't mean anything to you, then why do you have any marks at all?" His head snapped to the doorway, but Kirishima's already gone, door clicking softly shut behind him. Uraka reaches out to touch him, and Bakugou catches a glimpse of green on her fingertips. The explosions nearly blow her off the ring with his force. When the bell rings, Todoroki just stands there, staring lost, like his fucking brain has been scooped out. His defense against Bakugou explosions is weak. He's not using his left side, not giving his all. In Bakugou's worth more than that. Worth more than some half-hearted fight for the top. If Todoroki needs to use his fire to take down that shitty nerd, then he needs to use it now too. So why? Todoroki huffs, his white hair falling off his face, there on his jaw, a stripe of dark green, Deku's green. Bakugou sees red. After the debris clears, Bakugou stands on a platform, shaking as the effort takes to keep his bomb from going off. The knight has to talk out of tying him to the post and muzzling him. That's the one thing that would make this whole shitty situation even worse. So he keeps his jaw clenched shut as Almay drapes the metal around his neck. He can't see Deku either, or his soulmates out in the crowd, but he won. He won a wordless win, and he is alone. Is this what victory feels like? That night, convinced that a hag leaves Bakugou the fuck alone, he sits in his room, the gold medal buried in a trash can covered in scorch marks. Music blasts from his computer, loud enough to fill the room, but doesn't drown out the thoughts in his head. He stares at his hands, that empty space on his knuckle. No matter how hard he tries, he can't remember what that mark was once there looked like. An hour after that, he usually goes to bed. Bakugou turns off his lights. There's barely any room to breathe between a sport festival and their internships. Bakugou fucking glad for it. Less time he has spent avoid Kirishima's sad puppy eyes and Sarah's awkward attempt to initiate a conversation. Well, he's glad about it until he ends up walking down the street in fucking jeans with gel in his hair. Appearance is just as important as combat skills, Bestina says. He keeps talking about, but Bakugou cannot possibly listen over his desperate needs to take the fucking jean turtleneck and strangle him with it. They get through the whole pearl without seeing one bit of combat. Not that he could have technically been allowed to participate anyway, but still, it's frustrating. He didn't sign on with the number 4 hero to cuddle kids on the street and wave to civilians, and yet here he is, having spent 6 hours doing exactly that. Bakugou is waiting for Best Genius to hand him paperwork for a day, so he can get the fuck out of there, when the hero suddenly hums with a point a pen to his arms. You should get your costume altered to cover that. Wouldn't want to put your soulmate in danger. He glances down at Kirishima's marks and scoffs, like he would be the one putting shitty hair in danger. Not gonna bother. Probably won't stick around. As Gina stops, hands in the air before slowly puts down a pen and says, "I'm sorry." He says, "I'm sorry." Don't be. I don't fucking want it anyway. I don't need it. A perfectly sculpted eyebrow raise for arch the circle of denim. Best Genius consider him for a moment as Bakugou scowls and then slowly takes his gloves off. Denim, of course, because why fucking not? And begins rolling his sleeves of his costume. Underneath, his bare forearms are littered with scattering of different marks, some big and bright, others small and muted. There is even one tiny pink handprint. Do you know what I was trying to teach you today, Bakugou? That denim is the most god-awful fucking fabric? I was trying, Bestina interrupts, to show you that being a hero takes more than just extraordinary control on your quirk. It takes compassion, and, he gestured to the mark on his arms, a willingness to connect with others. I'm not the number one hero because number 1. The number 4 hero because I can capture a villain in less than 5 seconds. I am the number 4 hero because people see me and they know that I care. He wants to scoff again, roll his eyes, and blast a chair over something, but instead he stays quiet, glaring at the man. It's not the answer he wants. When it clears, Bakugou isn't going to stay anyway. When it's clear Bakugou isn't going to say anything, Bestina sighs, rolling his sleeve back into place, and sighs one last line, and then hands the paperwork over. Here, I expect to see you bright and early tomorrow morning. Bakugou snatches the papers and storms out. When Aizawa announces that he paired with Deku for a final exam, Bakugou almost laughed, of course. When will the universe stop trying to shove them together? Whatever. He had more important things to consider than that shitty nerd. Like how he's going to fight against All Might and win. A real victory this time. This is the last chance to prove himself, to prove that he can do it alone. And this is a lot easier if he could. This would be a lot easier if he could be alone. I just think Deku says behind him so close that we should reconsider this. This is All Might, Kachan. Then hide like a coward. I don't need you anyway. Kachan. Fuck off, Deku. Bakugou says, and for a blissful moment the footsteps behind him stop. He thinks maybe this time it'd work, but of course it didn't. The footsteps pick up until Deku's practically running behind him. Kachan, if you would just listen to me. This tiny voice in the back of his head that say, just listen, don't do it. But there's also a louder one that says sever it. And that he's rolling in his back. And the heat rolling in his bones in his back. And for a moment, Bakugou forgets where they are. Forgets Yue. The test, his gauntlets, it's just him, Deku, and that empty space on his knuckles. He turns around and swings. Bakugou wakes up at Recovery Girl's office to see Aizawa on his bedside. He slumped over in a plastic chair, but not asleep. No, he's currently staring at Bakugou through his shaggy mess of hair, looking more haggard than usual. Probably not a good sign. I thought that bonding with Kirishima and Sarah would improve your hostility demeanor. Even though his voice is low and Bakugou can hear the smearing underneath, but it appears that I was wrong. Parts of him want to open his mouth, defend himself before the accusations can really begin, but crunch of Deku's nose against his gauntlets and the repeated impact of All Might's fist in his stomach are far too fresh in his mind. I'm aware that you and Midoriya have somewhat of a history, one which neither of you seem to be willing to elaborate on. But there is no excuse on hurting your teammates, he says, and then pauses, an eyebrow raised. This is the part where you try to justify your actions anyways. Bakugou stays quiet, gaze averted. Shocking. Aizawa mutters, then continues. Why do you want to be a hero, Bakugou? To win. He answers immediately. A practiced phrase that drips from between his teeth without even thinking about it, but his voice is weak, shaky, not all there. Aizawa hums, not looking surprised at his answer. Is that all? What else would I fucking mean? What else would I fucking need? Being a hero isn't all about winning. Being a hero isn't about winning, it's about saving people. His eyes glint and he leans forward. Only villains fight just to win. The light that lights a spark, Bakugou snarls. I'm not a goddamn villain. If I believe you were, you wouldn't be here still. I think deep down there's a part of you that wants to be here because it's the right thing. Otherwise, I doubt you'd get either of those. I doubt you'd get either of those. He nods at the mark of Bakugou's bare arms, striped off their gauntlets and gloves. At some point, it is unconsciousness. But something is holding you back. Nothing is holding me back, Bakugou says, gritting his teeth. I'm not weak. No, you're certainly not, but you will be if you continue to push away the people trying to help you. I can do this on my own. Relying on other people isn't a weakness, Bakugou. Zod pinches the bridge of his nose between his fingers and thumb for a moment, then he takes his black gloves and slips them off. Fuck, not again, Bakugou mutters. Quiet. He holds his hands up to Bakugou. You can see the scattered of marks across them. Warm green splash across the heel of his palm, the light pink kiss mark on his wrist, the black-red streak across the back, like someone dragged the tip of his finger around it. The pristine engine silver on his tongue. I covered them to make sure they're safe and less recognizable, not because I'm ashamed of them. They've made me a better person and a better hero. He means to yell, to tell Aizawa that he's different, he's better, but all that comes out is quiet. I'm good enough by myself. To just be a hero, perhaps, says he slips his clothes back on, but there's a reason Endeavor isn't the number one and All Might is. Bakugou looks at him, the heat finally dying down to a mere prickling beneath his skin. I believe you can be better, Bakugou, truly. And that is why I'm not explaining you right now. But let me be clear. If I ever see a repeat of today's actions, I will not hesitate to change that decision. He stands, but keeps his eyes on Bakugou. His quirk doesn't activate, but Bakugou swears to see red anyway. And that does not mean you're without punishment. Upon return from training camp, you'll be suspended for a week. A week? That's fucking merciful. Yes, it is. Aizawa snaps and he turns to leave. But before he walks out the door, keep this conversation in mind, Bakugou. All Bakugou can do is stare at his bare hands. The orangish yellow mark on his elbow looks garish in the bathroom light. Bakugou traces with a frown and then looks at the red on his bicep. If soulmates really don't mean anything to you, then why do you have any marks at all? They should be gone. He should be able to sever them. The same way he severed Deku's all those years ago. But the thought of looking at his arms being empty space doesn't feel right anymore. Doesn't feel like power or victory or whatever. It feels wrong. He grits his teeth as several pops from his palm nearly smothers by the cool porcelain of the sink. Then he looks up at his red eyes glaring back. Only villains fight just to win. He's not a fucking villain. He just wants to be the best. He knows what it takes. He knows since he saw All Might for the first time and watched him carry those people off the train wreck on his own. But as Bakugou looked at the mark, his marks remembered that his sub black looks like on Bakugou and Zero. In turn, imagine what it would feel like to press their marks together, and he thinks, maybe. There isn't much for talking on the bus, or the girling survival trek to the actual fighting camp, but at dinner, Bakugou grabs his food and makes his way where Kirishima and the others are sitting. Most of him is tempted to find a secluded table and eat by himself, but he knows he needs this. Their conversation dies down as Bakugou comes to stop at the end of the table. Zero still with a fork of noodles halfway in his mouth, while Kirishima leans in hesitation and Rakunai and Pikachu just stare. "There's room for one more?" he asks, voice low and gruff. Kirishima smiles, nearly blinding, as he quickly scoots down and pats the bench. "Of course, man, take a seat." He sets his bowl down with a heavy clank and sits, not bothering to say anything before digging in. After a couple of bites, when he realizes the rest of them are still silent, staring at him, Bakugou growls, "Keep talking." "Right." Rakunai's Ashida. Bakugou remembers Sarah calling her squeaks. Where was I? Oh yeah. One of the 1B kids overheard Blood King and Aizawa-sensei talking, and apparently tomorrow's training. Bakugou mostly tuned out after that. As Ashida and Pikachu jumped around conversation topics at the speed of light, somehow Kirishima and Sarah kept up with it, maybe comments here and there, close to the end of the meal, while the other three are loudly discussing whether All Might Bang stick up because of gel or because of his quirk. Kirishima leans over and nudges him gently. "Hey," he says quietly with a smile far for his sharp teeth. "I'm glad you're here." "Yeah, well, get fucking used to it." Kirishima knocks his shoulder with him again, and Bakugou will never admit it, but he does feel a twinge of smile pulling to his lips too. It doesn't take long for everything to turn to shit. One minute they're walking around in the woods preparing to encounter dumbasses from 1B, and the next smoke is everywhere and a brilliant blue fire in the distance. Buck was about ready to run towards the fire and find the villains, when one finds them first. The fight is brilliant blue, and a brilliant blue. Bakugou about to run towards the fire to find villains with one first finds them first, and the fight is on. But even as he turns, the explosion after explosions at the metal-tooted fucker, part of him is somewhere else. He can't stop thinking in his back of his mind about Sarah. Kirishima is safe, he thinks. The other idiot took the idiots back at camp, but he has no clue where Sarah is. No clue if at any moment now the mark on his elbow is going to disappear. He takes a toss and rattles them back into a locked box in the back of his mind. He has bigger things to deal with at the moment, like a massive form of black shadow coming right at them. Bakugou should have run the second Deku said the villains were here for him. He should have left, maybe his own way back to the camp, because fuck you. He's capable of taking care of himself. Because if the villains are after him, then they'll probably blow through the rest of the idiots just to get to him. He knows if he did, Deku would just drag him back with those mangled arms of his and get himself killed anyways. He won't admit it, but even to himself, but there is another reason, a small, quiet voice in the back of his mind that says, "I don't want to be alone." Not that it matters in the end anyway. Only a few minutes down the path, a hand lands on his shoulder and the world goes small, cramped, and dark. Small, cramped, and dark to even breathe. And he finally comes tumbling out of that space, is only to feel a hand clamp around his neck. He can see Deku through the purple mist descending around him. He's staring at Bakugou, his face racked with the desperation, and Bakugou feels a tug at the empty space on his knuckles again. It's too late. Stay back, Deku. And then the mist closes in. They want him to become a villain. They will tell him he's already got the making of one. They tempt him with the prospect of being the best and always winning. Bakugou snarls as he spits on their face. He's got 2 marks on him. They should have told him that would never happen. That crazy knife bitch gets near him exactly once. In the middle of the night, the rest of the villains are asleep or out. Bakugou is wide-eyed and refuses to let any of these fuckers get to jump on him again. Not that it would matter, not that he could do anything if they did. With his hands like this, he doesn't let himself think about it. Fangs doesn't even bother. Fangs doesn't even boat sneaking through. She sauntered into the room with that creepy ass smile of hers, brandishing two large jagged knives like they're playthings. Stay the fuck away from me, he growls. If his hands weren't stuck in place in blocks of cement, he'd have already blown her ass up. Aw, that's not fun. She whines as he approaches, but her smile doesn't falter. I haven't even gotten to play yet. You're already being mean. His head tripped back as she boops him on the nose, and one of the knives, giggling like a goddamn maniac. He snarls, ready to bite back with a retort, and then she lifts up his sleeves, revealing a crimson red. I love messing with stole marks, she says, tracing the mark with a sharp point of the knife. The blood from them always tastes better, you know. I tried taking them before as souvenirs, but they always disappear when I'm done cutting them off the skin. Her amber eyes flash dangerously as low light. Maybe this one will say. Of all the things the villains could do to Bakugou, this ranks pretty goddamn low. Compared to man-child disintegration quirk, this will probably be like a paper cut. The pain doesn't frighten him, so why is he fucking afraid right now? The knife starts to press on his skin into his mark, and Bakugou is about ready to blow his own fucking hands up if it means keeping those crimson knuckles on his. And when a voice comes out of the dark, Shigaraki says no hurting him. Patchwork stands in the doorway and the blue lights conjure in his palm casually. Oh, come on, Dobby. Banks pout, but she steps back. Bakugou isn't relieved. He isn't. Dobby moves into the room. Maybe it's a trick of the shifting lights. Maybe Bakugou is just sleep deprived. But he swears he sees a little flash of icy blue peeking out from under his collar, a stark contrast against the gnarly purple skin. Go to bed, he said pointedly, and leave this kid alone. Bakugou refuses to give any sort of thanks to this bastard, but the glare he sends his way is slightly less murderous than he could have been. When he sees Kirishima's hands, Bakugou hesitates. He doesn't run away from a fight. That shit's for cowards. Then he catches a glimpse of the black stain on the other boy's knuckles. He makes his decision. Bakugou flies. Kirishima drags him towards the crowd by his arms. Normally he'd protest, maybe blast him away, but his body's still shaking. Bakugou hasn't really eaten, drank, or slept much in nearly 3 days. It's a miracle he hasn't passed out yet. Like a magnet, Kirishima's hand find Bakugou's bicep, pressing his mark concentrated look on the battered boy's face. It's not intentional, but subconscious thing. Bakugou doesn't protest either. For the first time since the forest started burning, he feels safe. Turns out he doesn't need to worry about the week-long suspension because Yue puts him on medical leave for a week anyway. Something about students who go through extreme trauma have to take a time off for psychological stability or whatever. He tries to fight it, but his mother yells at him for an hour, and Aizawa tells him it's this or take the suspension and have that one on his record. Bakugou can be hot-headed, but he's not an idiot. Being stuck in a house with his parents for a week, however, makes him feel like this is more of a suspension than a medical health break anyway. Mitsuki refuses to let him leave, not even stop for groceries with her. Tries to go on run the second morning. When she says no, he thinks, then fucking stop me, and she sets his running shoes on fire. The resulting argument probably would have gotten the cops called on them if his dad hasn't gone to the neighbors to reassure them that no one was getting murdered. Masaru keeps reminding him that we're worried about you, son. Those 3 days were the most terrified we've ever been. Please be patient with her. He wants to bite back with imagine how terrified they were for me, but that would admit he feels anything beside anger about what happened, and he's not ready for that. There are 106 unanswered calls on his phone that have been accumulating since the kidnapping. Some of them are from his parents during those 3 days, some of them are from his classmates, or so he assumes. He doesn't have their numbers saved. Most of them, though, are from Hiroshima and the others. They made a group chat and added Bakugou to it against his will, so it seems like there's lots of notifications are just memes, but a few personal messages. There's one from Sarah that reads, "Are you okay?" followed by a stupid question. Sorry. Quite a few from Hiroshima, though the last one is kinda, I wish you would respond, but I get if you need time, dude. Just let me know if you want to talk. Bakugou look at the couple minutes thumb hovering over the keyboard before turning his phone off. On the fourth night under house arrest, his parents sit down on the couch after dinner and makes what he hopes is a stealthy break for his room, to no avail. Get your ass back here. Katsuki, why don't we watch a movie together? As a family? He groans, and Bud doesn't protest, as he plops down between them. He's pretty sure if he refused, his mother would completely fucking lose it and take an axe on his bedroom door, like she has been threatening for years. Mitsuki wastes no time before pulling Bakugou to her side. She's wearing a tank top, so it's easy to slide her arm around his shoulder. Knocking their soul marks, Bakugou shouldn't have been surprised, but he jumps away. Get your hands off me, hag. Knock it off, you little shit. Do you want popcorn? Masaru says, standing up. I'm gonna go make some popcorn. Jesus fuck, kid, Mitsuki says after she strong arms his back into sitting with her. For a brief second, he considered setting off a few explosions. How the hell do you still have those if you act like this much of a twerp? Bakugou follows her gaze at the mark on his arms and scowls. Because they don't make me do stupid shit like this. Yeah, because they're not your mother, she snorts. Doesn't mean they don't want to. Huffing, he shifts around, trying to get comfortable. It's not that the warm feeling across his shoulder is bad. It's just weird and not nearly familiar enough. How are things going with him? What do you want to know? For fuck's sake, because I'm your mother, Katsuki. Whatever, it's fine. Definitely sounds fine, she says. What's the problem? They're not fans of your never-ending charm? He swallows back an urge to throw her arms off him. No, I just don't know how to connect with them. It's just don't know how to connect with them, she finishes. Buckle glances at her in surprise. She sighs. I get it. It's hard for people like us. Sharp edges your father likes to say. I'm nothing like you. Shut up. Yes, you are. Her other arm reaches up for a second, and he thinks he's gonna get swatted over the head, but she scrubs her fingers gently through his hair instead. Your father and I, things weren't easy between us. At first, it was difficult. Still, it's just important. Remember, Kotsky? She rubs her knuckles lightly across his skull, so he doesn't look at her. So he turns and look at her in the eyes. That's just because someone can take your shit doesn't mean you should give it to them. He opens his mouth to say something. He doesn't know what, but when his dad chooses to walk, just the moment to walk in with a big bowl of popcorn. All right, popcorn's ready to go. So what are we watching? Bakugou sits in the quiet, dark room, movie flashing lights across all three of them. Lets the warmth of his mother's mark wash over him, and if halfway through he pulls his feet up on the couch and puts his ankles in easy reach of his dad's hand, nobody mentions it. He arrives at the dorm early Sunday morning with his bag in tow. His parents walk into the gate, and his mom hugs him tightly. He thinks he might explode, and not because of his quirk. Aizawa escorts him to the rest of the way, not really saying much, but at least not much. At least not until Bakugou speaks up. My mom showed me the press conference, he grumbled. Aizawa looked at him, brows raised. Thanks for what you said. I was only stating that what was clear to me, his teacher says, with a sharp nod as he opens the door for Bakugou. Your room is to the left. Fourth floor, third down the hall. Don't forget your meeting with Nezu at noon. Bakugou makes his way to the room. Luckily, he got in early though, so everyone else seems to be asleep. Although he wouldn't be surprised if a couple of the nerdier ones were already out of bed and working out. He opens the door and flicks on the light. It's simple. He hadn't been expecting much, honestly, but this is about as nice as his room at home. And his screaming mother's nowhere in sight, so it's an upgrade. And he goes to put his bag down on his bed, though he noticed something sitting on his desk. He picks it up. It's a bag of caramucho. It's one of his favorite snacks. Deposited and grabs in an envelope of before pocketing it, pocketing the post-it and grabbing an envelope of yen from his backpack. On the back, he scrawls for the goggles and quickly pushes it under Kirishima's door. Somehow, it never really occurs to Bakugou that he probably wouldn't cap out at the two non-familial soulmates. It happens during training. Most of their costumes are in a sport department getting upgrades, so they'll all be wearing gym uniforms as Aizawa pairs them up for a rescue exercise. As soon as he says they're working together, Ashito practically glues herself to Bakugou's side and doesn't stop talking. She's bubbly she's a bubbly stream of chitter-chatter until they get to the actual stream, which they use to cross in order to reach a stranded civilian. And of course, the stream, as Aizawa described it, it actually is a river of at least 30 feet wide and a single rope strung across. Roll up your pant legs, he says. Oh, great idea. Oh wait, what about our shoes? Unless you want to go across that shit barefoot, keep them on. Fair point. Alright, Baku, I'm right behind you. Yeah, I know, he mutters under his breath, and he takes a hold of the road. Slowly but surely begins making his way across the river. The current is strong, but impossible to move through. Ashto is clearly struggling more than he is, as every few seconds she lets out a half-mumbled curse. Bakugou doesn't say anything to her, but he does move a bit slower than he could have. Then the current suddenly gets stronger, and the water rising above mid-thigh. And Bakugou grumbles quick, "Fucking hell. I should have known it wouldn't be that easy." And he just wanted to get this over with as fast as possible. "Bakugou, I'm losing my grip." "Shit, grab on." He starts. It's too late. As he turns his head, Ashto stumbles forward and letting go of the rope, reaching for his shirt. He tries to reach back for her, but in process, he loses his own hold, and they both go tumbling over each other in the current. They're barely in the river for 10 seconds before Aizawa drags them to the shore with their capture weapon, like a waterlogged cat. He barely lets them catch their breath before turning on them, the lecture clearly already on his tongue, but then he looks down and pauses. Bakugou follows Aizawa's line of sight down his bare knees and a brand new patch of hot pink on the side of it. He quickly glances at Ashto, who's staring wide-eyed at a matching ziplock on her knee. "Oh, for fuck's sakes," he says. Aizawa shakes off his surprise before Ashto can, thankfully. "Soul marks or no soul marks, you both failed the exercise. If this was real, you would have been dead already right now. You should just default by the obvious solution." Ashto doesn't wait any time. As soon as training's over, she bursts into the common room, kicking her leg up onto the table where Kirishima and the others are already sitting, pointing at the black mark at a very, very light. "Look what I got!" Kaminari aimlessly pokes it. "Did you, break a pen or something?" "No, it's my soul mark from Bakugou." "Whoa, really?" Sarah leans forward, glancing between it, and Bakugou, who had followed Ashto reluctantly, and now standing before her with a scowl. "When did that happen?" "During training. It was really cool. We were in the river and we fell and failed the exercise," he says, hands shoved in his pocket, shoulder drawn back. But it's not actually as harsh and angry as he was going for. It was just tired and resigned. Kirishima grins at Bakugou. "Congrats, man. Not on the exercise, obviously, but the mark." He gets up, bumps his fist against Bakugou's biceps, sparking heat between their soul marks. Out of the corner of his eye, Bakugou can see Sir rubbing his own mark with a bit awkwardly. "Aw, man." Kaminari groans. "That means I'm the only one in the Baku squad that doesn't have a Baku mark." "What the hell is the Baku squad?" "You know, all of us, your friends, we're the Baku squad," he says, like there's something Bakugou should just know. "You gotta give me a high five or something, please." The muscles between his shoulders go taut, and he bares his teeth. "Fuck no. Come on. Just touch the pinky with me. 2 seconds, no. What if I just, no. How about, wait, no. I'm sorry, Bakugou, stop sparking your palms like that." "It's official." Kaminari is hunting him. He didn't really notice us at first. He should have. He trained to be observant of his surroundings, but when he's just been so fucking tired since Kamino. Not that he's thinking about it though. Kaminari had been following him following him a little too closely the past week since the whole Ashto thing. Always just on the edge of Bakugo's vision. Not registered as a physical threat because, well, it's fucking Pikachu. But in the context of the past two incidents, it's just putting him on edge, making him wonder why he wants to be so close. The first incident was in a locker room after training. Bakugou had been in the middle putting on a shirt, and when there was a commotion behind him, Kirishima tackling Kaminari to the ground, yelling something about, "Not right now, man." He slams the door shut, even as his hand shook a bit, and I liked it to forget about it. The second was the hard to ignore. They had been in the cafeteria. Bakugou was walking to a seat, and his tray when Kaminari not so subtly stuck his foot out and tipped him. His food had slipped everywhere, and he hit the towel hard. "Oops," Kaminari had said, obviously fake cheeriness, reaching in his head down. "Let me help you up, Bakugou." Afterwards, Midnight gave him a week of detention and a month-long ban from the cafeteria for nearly destroying several tables in an ensuing fight. It all leads up to this. Bakugou walks into the kitchen late at night, flips on a switch, and pauses. Slowly he looks up. "What the fuck?" "Hey, Bakugou," Kirishima says with a nervous, strangled chuckle as he clings to the kitchen light. "How's it going?" He briefly considered blowing Kaminari's ass up, even though with the threat of expulsion he hangs over his head, or jail. Either one would probably be worth it at this point. Instead, he scowls. "How the hell did you get up there?" "Well, funny story." Kaminari slips just a bit, and he yelps, "You Uraraka and I bribe Uraraka. Oh my god, I regret it so much. Please help me get down from here." Bakugou reaches toward the light switch. "No. Bakugou, please." What the fuck do you want me to do? Catch you? Yes, that would work. Absolutely fucking not. Come on, man. Oh shit. Kaminari lets out a high-pitched scream and slips from the light and crashes with a large smack onto the tile. Bakugou watches, wondering how the fuck the Yoi become the top hero school in Japan. Ow. I think I'm dying. Recover you, girl. You think she'd heal you after hearing what your stupid ass did to get hurt in the first place? He moved to stand over Bakugou's limp form. "Why were you up there?" Kirishima sits up, one hand on his head and the other one curled in his rib. "No reason, just doing my usual, Sunday night, hanging in the kitchen." "It's Sunday? Wait, what? Oh shit, I haven't even started my essay for." Kaminari. Wait. Kaminari. Fine. He throws his hands up in the air and looks at the ground, avoiding Bakugou's gaze. "Look, I'm the only one in the little group that you're not soulmates with, and I just want to find out, And I'd like it if we're not, cause I know I'm annoying." And Deku's sitting across the classroom, rubbing his knuckles, glancing at him with those white shiny eyes. Bakugou drops in a crouch and flicks Kaminari's on the temple. "Here, that gives. What? Here. Blah, blah. Hey, what gives?" he whines, rubbing the spot before his eyes suddenly go away. "Wait!" Holding out his hands, Bakugou studies a new mark at the tip of his middle finger. It's a light, almost neon blue. It's the electric haze around the big bright sign. Kaminari stares at it, too, before his face breaks into a wide grin. "Go write your fucking essay," Bakugou says before standing. "You sure you don't want to help me with it, Baku bro?" "Yes." Things are weird after that. They're all just awkward around him. Like, any second he's going to blow up, which might be fair given his track record. He's trying, not the only one who tries to even get close to him is Kirishima. He's got thick skin, so he doesn't care. The problem is Bakugou doesn't know how to do this. Everyone else has this whole childhood. Sorry. Fuck. Everyone else had their whole childhood figured out how the soulmate things work. He had less than a semester, and yeah, maybe that's a little bit that is his fault, but it doesn't change the fact that it sucks. Then the opportunity bursts down to his door and interrupts his Friday night. I'm just gonna drop out of school now and become a fast food worker. Ashito grounds face down on the common room floor. Hey, fast food workers are skilled, valued members of society, Kirishima says. He's on the floor too, sandwiched between the coffee table and the couch, directly beneath Bakugou's propped up feet. Great, so now I can't even have a backup plan. I guess I'll just die then. Kaminari drags himself over the couch, over the back of the couch, close enough that Bakugou raises his hands and lets off a few warning pops. He barely even reacts. No, he says. Don't die. Who will watch the next episode of Hero Fails with? Oh, babe, that got cancelled. No way, babe. Don't lie to me about this. You know how much I love. Bakugou throws his book onto the coffee table. What the hell are y'all being dramatic about? The math test. Kirishima says with a sob that Bakugou isn't entirely sure is fake. Ectoplasm's killing me, dude. No way I'm gonna understand parabolas by Monday. Why do you even need to know parabolas? Ashito flips onto her back. They're just curves. Kirishima nearly falls off the couch as a half laugh, half cry. Parabolas? Bakugou considered for a moment and then stands, narrowly avoiding the stepping on Kirishima's head. Fine, get your math shit and meet me at the table in 5 minutes. Okay. Going. Sure enough, 5 minutes later, they're sitting at the back of the table in the common room. Yarozu rolling a whiteboard behind them. Bakugou flips it through the textbook, trying to figure out which lesson to go over again first, while the others glance nervously between each other. Bakugou, are you gonna, kill us or something? Kaminari asked, sitting on his seat. No. I'm gonna fucking tutor you, idiot, so you stop complaining. Silence for a moment, and then a chorus of, "Aww." Shut up and tell me what the problem on the worksheet you're having problems with. Damn it, shitty hair. I told you to move the X to the other side. Oh, Kirishima, you got shitty haired. Shut up, Pikachu. I do not look like Pikachu. Oh my god, you so do. I have to take a picture of this right now. Ashito, stop it. You're even doing that face from the I can't, this is so good. I'm not Pikachu. Both of you, shut up. Oops, sorry. Sorry about bro. Back to work. Zero joins the tutoring too, not the math session because he's doing just fine in there. I kind of have to know it to make sure I don't end up splat at the wall. He explains and Ashito sticks her tongue out. But for literature help, he's still a bit awkward around Bakugou. The other three have become perfectly comfortable practicing climbing all around him, occasionally touching their soul marks together, but Sarah keeps a wider berth. Probably fair considering how Bakugou barely talks to him for a month after finding their soulmates. Still, he doesn't know how to fight it. He doesn't even know how to say you can trust me without. Bakugou's train of thought is interrupted by Zero himself plopping onto the couch next to him with a long groan. Sleep, Zero says. Continue to evade me like the difference between a smile and a metaphor. He lowers his book. You're a moron. Yeah, I know. Zero says with a frown, and Bakugou rolls his eyes. Quit worrying. You've studied way more than them. He jabs a finger towards the table, where Kirishima, Ashdo, and Kaminari all sit with notes scrambled around them. You'll pass. Try telling my brain, Dad, he says with a quiet moment, thinking, and slowly raises his arms. Get over here. Zero blinks. What, like, sit on your lap? No, just lay down so I can put my elbow on you. Sure? Zero says with a nervous laugh before painstakingly scooting across the couch, lying down, as stiff as a board, with his head and shoulder across Bakugou's thigh. Okay? He snorts as he lightly sets his elbow across Zero's neck. Adjust so he can prop his book up on the other boy's chest. As soon as their soul marks settles against each other, Zero lets out a sigh, the tension draining from his body until practically boneless. He won't admit it, but the contact, the warmth, the safety of it all makes something in him settle down. Go to fuck to sleep, Bakugou says. Zero laughs a little, but his eyes are already closing before he falls asleep. Though he says quietly, thanks, Bakugou. Call me that again and I'll blow your ass off this couch. Sure you will. Bakugou smiles just a bit. When Aizawa comes in from the night patrol at 1 a.m. and finds the two of them asleep on the couch, and he pauses, then gently puts a blanket across them. He hasn't talked to Deku much since coming back, and yeah, they're all pretty busy with training and provisional license exam, but it feels different. Deku stays across his soulmate, and Bakugou stays around him, and they won't interact at all. No jabs, no side comments, no kachan, no shitty losers. It's like a sea of dead space between them, and that neither of them wants to cross. And yet, deep down, he still feels that pull. Since starting at UA, he's gotten 4 new soul marks on his skin, 4 new soulmates in his life, 4 people who are supposed to push him, make him better, but he still fails the provisional license exam. Some people try to stop him when they get back to school. It might be Kirishima or Ashdo. He doesn't know, he doesn't care. Aizawa catches him by the arm as soon as they enter the dorm, asking politely if he wants to talk. Bakugou shakes his head and yanks himself out of the teacher's grip without a word, and then makes a beeline for Deku. And a few of his friends gather around Todoroki, who's just sitting there blank faced and silent. As soon as he sees Bakugou coming, Deku freezes up. We need to talk, Bakugou says, voice low, rough around the edges. He glances over his shoulder. Aizawa was still watching him, eyes narrow. Tonight, after curfew, ground beta. Deku looks at him for a second before giving a short, jerky nod. Bakugou leaves for his room, dodging both Zero and Kaminari on the way. By the time Deku shows up, Bakugou is ready to put his fist through one of the concrete building if it means shutting his damn head up. The heat is back, clawing up and down his bones, begging to let loose. He's already breathing heavy, and he hasn't even done anything. Kachan? Deku says quietly, carefully, as he approaches the fucking animal. He's approaching a fucking animal. What do you want to talk about? Your quirk, he says. He had a lot of time thinking about it. He knows it's All Might's. He's giving it. It's All Might's. He gave it to you. Deku shifts his place. Kachan, don't fucking lie to me. His lips curl back in a snarl. Just don't give it. Get what? You were so goddamn weak, he says, and there's so many questions, so many things bubbling up beneath his skin, and this is one he needs to get out. He got his quirk, and you were still fucking weak, and then you found your soulmates and you got strong. Yeah, while having people whose marks stay helped, Deku muttered under his breath, almost make Bakugou stumble with a spike of heat between his ribs. But you got soulmates too. He chokes out. I should be better, stronger. But today? Deku pauses, eyes wide, and then says, Kachan. It's so fucking understanding that it makes him want to explode. You're not weak, just made a few mistakes, that's it. I'm quirkless, Deku, he had said, eyes watery when they reached his hand out, trying to touch their marks. Bakugou had slapped it away. The heat inside of him reaching a boiling point. Shut up! He grabs Deku's shirt and shoves him back into the wall. He doesn't let go. His fingers twist in the fabric, clinging. Everything's crashing together. Jumbo puzzle pieces so scorched their images aren't recognizable anymore. Amara reaches his hand across the table. That creepy fang girl holding a jabbed tip of her knife into his crimson mark. Deku rubbing his knuckles, glancing at Bakugou, commentary hanging from this light ceiling, trying so hard to just connect. It's too much. He doesn't understand any of it, and his palms are sweating at the itch, and the itch is pounding underneath his skin. So he lets out a few pops in his hands, and Deku flinches. Bakugou lets go and takes 3 stumbling steps back. Kachan? Deku asks, concerned, like Bakugou is the hurt one. Like Bakugou's the one who just flinched at the sound of a few explosions for no reason. No, not for no reason, because Bakugou. Getting space on his knuckles, the things he so cruelly severed again and again. Never once, though, how it felt to be the one on the other side. He can't breathe. His lungs have turned into ash in his chest. He can't breathe. He wraps his arms around himself, in one hand grasping the mark on his bicep, the other mark on his elbow. What if they disappear? He's seen the way Zero looks at him sometimes, unsure, doubtful. And he's right to be. What if one day he wakes up and there's nothing but empty? For the first time, Bakugou feels the heat crawling under his skin, recognizing no anger. Fuck, he says between heavy, mangled breaths, his eyes burnt. Fuck, you boys shouldn't be out here. A voice says, shadow building, of course, because that's just Bakugou's shit luck. All Might's here. It's past curfew. Sorry, Deku manages to squeak out. He slides past Bakugou, keeping his arms close to his sides like he's protecting himself, like he's expecting him to just reach out, and he moves closer to All Might, who comes out of the shadows and stands in street bandages practically shining in the moonlight. We were just, talking. All Might hums, like he knows that it's not the full truth. He steps closer, head tilted and eyes off. Bakugou, are you alright? I heard that about the provincial license. I'm sorry about the results, but at least I'm fucking fine. His fingers dig into the marks. He swallows back the things rising in his throat. Hopes that the hitch of his breath isn't noticeable. Footsteps and then a tall shadow over him. Young Bakugou, All Might says, so gentle, so soft, and nearly claws him in half. That's all right. You're feeling bad right now, but you must understand, failure is merely a setback, and it doesn't mean you're any less of a hero. He can't look at him in the eyes. Right now, can't admit to his hero. That's not just the exam, it's everything. Just because he won't become a villain doesn't mean he can't become a hero. A large bony hand comes to rest on Bakugou's shoulder. It's wrapped in bandages, but the fingertips are exposed. As he touches bare skin, something slides into place. Bakugou looks at his fingers, now stained and set black, with a bit of surprise. Huh, he says, then laughs a bit. I suppose I really shouldn't have I should have expected this. Bakugou's heart, meanwhile, has jumped into his throat, barely managed to choke out. How can you love me after everything I've done? How can you love me when I push everyone away? How can you love me when I'm nothing compared to you? How are you okay with this? Might frowns. Why wouldn't I be okay with this? Because, he says, this time he cannot hold back a sob that accompanies it. It's my fault. If I hadn't been so damn weak. He'd let them in sooner if he hadn't rejected them in the first place. Then you wouldn't have had to fight at Kamino, and you would still have your quirk. There's a quiet for a moment, and then All Might's hand is back on his shoulder. He hums against his skin, the mark not just a splash of color, but a reminder that he is here. His grips on the other's marks loosen just a bit. Bakugou, I need you to listen to me. What happened at Kamino was not your fault. I was going to lose my power. You couldn't do anything to change that. You're strong. Slowly, All Might uses his other hand to cut Bakugou's head and pull him in. Bakugou lets him, resting his forehead against All Might's chest, hiding his tears streaming down his face, and for a moment the air stills. The heat in his bones cool, and the knowledge of what he's done, of his own weakness, isn't so heavy. Midori smiles when he's handed Bakugou the All Might toy. Their hands brushed against each other, stop like a feather touch, and then they pull away the marks they left on each other's shine. Bakugou looked at the dark green paint across his knuckles, and he smiled. The world was, if only for a moment, right. Then someone else sniffles, and just like that, everything comes crashing down. Two short arms wrap around All Might and Bakugou, and Deku says, "Kachan, I didn't realize you felt that way. You should have." The empty space on his knuckles pulls and pulls. This time he pushes back. It's not the anger that fuels him. Bakugou shoves them both off, not hard enough, but that he knows he's done. He wipes at his face, avoiding the grave. "We should go back. Aizawa knows both of you were breaking curfew," All Might says, and taking a sudden shift in stride. "But as long as there was only rule broken, there's no reason you should get any punishment other than a warning." "Yeah," Deku says, sounding surprised. That actually was the only rule we broke." Bakugou walks away with the guilt swallowed before the guilt can't swallow him whole. When he walks into his room, he's not expecting to meet 4 exhausted-looking teenagers lounging around. As he stands there, hand hovering over the light switch, Sho seems to register him and jumps up. "Bakugou, we were waiting for you. Look, we know today we're probably shooting for you, so we got Sarah's laptop and some snacks from the drugstore." And empty space, Deku flinching, the sweet smell of nitroglycerin mixing with a acrid scent of his burnt skin. "Get out," he says. It should be a snarl, but it's fucking tired. "What?" The rest of them are awake and aware now and looking confused. I said. He grips his teeth, emerged, burning in his eyes. "Get out." Hurt flickers across her face. She opens her mouth, but Kirishima beats her to it. "Ashido," he says to her, but his eyes are on Bakugou. There's something like understanding that makes his stomach feel even more like a dead weight. "Why don't you guys go hang out in Sarah's room or something? I've got this." She hesitates but nods in agreement. Even if her face said she'd rather nod, without another word, she pushes past Bakugou out of the room, pulling out a groggy Sarah and Kaminari with her. "What happened with Midoriya, man? You look not good." "Wait, is that another—" "Nothing," he snaps, grabbing his jacket off the bed, pulling it onto the golden fingerprints, so the golden fingerprints are covered. And part of him thinks Soto's crisp knuckles are covered too. Kirishima frowns. I don't think it was nothing, dude." You shouldn't tell. He shouldn't tell him. There's no way that Mark will stay on him if he does. And he does, but he doesn't. He's afraid that feeling might eat him alive. So Bakugou sits on a bed, back against the wall, knees brought to his chest, says, Deku and I used to be soulmates. But you're not anymore? Kirishima asks as he settles on the bed next to him. But we're not anymore, and it's my fault. Then Mako confesses everything, every insult, every explosion, every bad thing he'd done, and the other things too. Amari, how frustrated and confused he felt during the sport festival. His fear when Toga came at him, everything with All Might in him. When it's all out, Kirishima's quiet. He hasn't said a word since Bakugou started. Really. But now he's not even looking at him. Bakugou knows if he looks at him, his bicep. Bakugou knows if he looks at his bicep right now. That's not good, Bakugou, he says, breaking the train of thought. The stuff you did to Midoriya, that's really not manly. He excels. Let's head back right against the wall. I know. But that's you're not. Bakugou looks over at him and frowns, but his eyes are wide with signature earnestness and is gentle. He pulls at the jacket. Can you take this off, please? Reluctantly, he lets Kirishima pull the sleeve down, and expecting bare skin, but still there, an outline of crisp red knuckles imprinted into him. He stares as Kirishima presses Mark together, and the warmth and comfort provide an anchor. It makes his heat boil inside him it makes the heat inside him boil just a bit more. You're not a villain, yeah, you fucked up, man, but that doesn't mean you can't be better. Though, you should probably start apologizing to Midoriya. Bakugou looks forward, staring at the golden All Might keychain hanging on the lamppost. There's something I gotta do first. Class doesn't start for another hour, Bakugou. Izawa leans forward in his chair. Is there something you need? He drops his backpack on the floor and sits down across his arms. Yeah. I can't do anything about the provisional license exam. You'll have to attend the remedial classes. It's not about that. An eyebrow raised. Oh? I want to talk about me and Deku's history, or whatever the fuck you called it. He shifts in his seat and eyes fixed on the office tile. What about your history? Bakugou takes a deep breath and meets Bakugou's narrow eyes for a second time in less than 24 hours. Spills everything. For a day suspension with house arrest and cleaning duty, as well as a mandatory school-sponsored therapy with Hound Dog. He won't lie, he's something to protest the latter, but looks on his Iowa's face shut him up right away, considering he kind of thought he'd get expelled. It's probably the best he could have hoped for. Kirishima knocks on his door an hour or so after class gets out. Hey man, he says at the doorway, scratching the back of his neck. I heard you got suspension. Nobody knows why it happened, by the way. They're all thinking you attacked Midoriya or something last night. Anyway, we're not allowed to tell you what went over in class. We just want to say, I'm proud of you. Bakugou's not going to cry over that. He's not Deku, but he doesn't let Kirishima hug. But he does let Kirishima hug him just for a bit. After dinner, Bakugou drags 3 of the 6 trash bags class money has managed to fill today to the dumpsters behind the doors. He's pretty sure something actively shifting in the 3rd bag, and he's debating whether or not he should set off a few explosions in a bin after he throws a familiar footsteps flapping against concrete behind him. Kanchan, Deku calls out, and Bakugou turns to him, jogging with the other 3 trash bags in his arms. Hey, grab the other trash bags for you, so you won't have to make a second trip. Bakugou lifts the lid and throws his own bag out into the bin before saying a dry thanks. I also wanted to. He shifts from the foot to foot, chewing his lip. I just want to say I didn't tell Aizawa-sensei anything. He said you told him, so I guess maybe you knew that already, but I wasn't sure, and you should have, he said low, but punctuated with a thud of the lid falling into place. Deku just looked confused. You should have told him. Deku rears back for a moment, blinking that, and then he stills, taking a breath. Well, it's not like anyone would believe me before. The fourth-grade teacher once asked Bakugou if he'd burned Deku on purpose. He could see in his eyes he knew the truth, but there was a mischievous curve to her smile, and one that said, "Tell me no." So he did. Deku got detention for lying. I know, Bakugou growls, scrubbing one hand down his face. He should apologize, but not now. Not here, not when he doesn't know what to say just yet. So instead he walks away. It's okay if you're upset, Ashido says. Sprawl across his bed. But you shouldn't shut us out, Bakugou. You don't make good decisions when you do. Bakugou huffs. You forgot to change the negative to a positive here. Oh shit, right. Oh shit, really? She scrambles over the edge of the bed, takes the worksheet pen from him, eyes scanning across the question. Dang it, why do I always do that? Dropping her paper, she boops him on the nose with the pen. Thanks for the help, but I meant what I said. Don't try to keep us away. We can help you out too. I know. Good. She grins and boops on her nose again, even though he raises his hand threateningly. As she walks out of his room, Ashido waves over her shoulder and says, "Good night, Bakugou. Don't let the bed bugs bite." Bakugou stares after her for a moment before grumbling to himself. She took my goddamn pen. On the third day of house arrest, Bakugou finds himself in the kitchen, scrubbing the sink, while Kirishima drapes himself over the counter and whines. It's just so hard, No, he says as he works at the stain that's been next to the faucet for weeks. Come on, man, I'm not allowed to tell you what I'm talking about. Kaminari says, you have to guess. Anyways, Kirishima has already gone and started on it, and so was Midoriya, and Tsuyu, and Uraraka. It's like overachievers. So overachievers much? Bakugou grunts. Despite his best attempts, the ring of something red will not budge. Which, speaking of Midoriya, what did you do to him that you got suspended? He doesn't look hurt, though I guess I would have found recover girl, but I thought she said she was kind of done healing him. None of your fucking business. He throws a sponge into the sink, sending the little spot of soap flying through the air, and the stain looks like he didn't even touch it. Whoa, dude, calm down, he says with a laugh. You can hear the thinly veiled hurt underneath. I was just wondering. After one carefully counted breath, thanks, hound dog. He turns towards the counter. Whatever the hell is you're all working on, I'm sure you're gonna find a way to do it probably. The other boy stares at him for a few seconds before Bakugou swears honest-to-God tears before coming out of it. Bakugou swears, honest to God, tears starting to come out of his eyes. Bakugou, that's the sweetest thing you've ever said to me. Shut the hell up, you fucking loser. Too late, you basically already said, oh, hey Midoriya. Without Bakugou noticing, Deku had entered the kitchen, and he waves a little at Kaminari. He doesn't say anything as he grabs something out of one of the cabinets, and he dashes out of the room. As he goes, Bakugou gets a glimpse of the look on his face. It's lost and conflicted. They sit in a quiet moment before Kirishima goes, I wonder what's up with him. Bakugou keeps his eye at the spot Deku disappeared from, frowning. He finds Deku on the roof, not near the edge, or Bakugou probably would have lost it, but on top of one of the vents, snacking on what looks like chips and ferociously wiping at his face. The fuck happened to you? Deku nearly falls out the vent. Kachan, what are you doing here? And what are you doing up here? You don't own the damn roof, he says. He pulls himself onto the vents and sits cross-legged. I guess not, Deku says under his breath, then straightens up again. Sir, I don't know. I can't really tell you because of the whole suspension thing. Bakugou knows, trying not to get his frustration bubble up at that. It's his own fault that he's falling behind, not anyone else's. Why did you tell Aizawa-sensei anyway? Those green eyes are focused on him. I don't get it. One minute you're shoving me into a wall, the next you admit to bullying me for most of our childhood. What does that even mean? He looks out at the horizon, studies the setting sun, the way it stains the sky orange and pink, rubs the empty space on his knuckles, and then... I'm sorry. Deku splutters. What? I'm fucking sorry, alright? Everything I did, the bullying, hurting you. The words come out faster and faster. I can't explain why I did it. You kept following me everywhere and I need to prove I don't know. It doesn't matter. It was wrong and I'm sorry. Oh. It's quiet, soft exhale. When Bakugou manages to look back at him, Deku's staring, wide-eyed and shiny. Kachan, it's not. He interrupts. Don't say that. I don't want your fucking forgiveness either. He looks utterly confused. The utter confusion on Deku's face would have been funny in utter conversation. What? Isn't that why you're supposed to apologize? No. Well, fuck, maybe. But I don't want yours now. Alright? Because you're just gonna say it's okay or whatever, even though it's fucking not, and you're gonna try to forgive me because you think that that's what a hero would do, and I'm telling you, I don't want it because until you're actually ready to give it. Not until I've actually earned it. Deku doesn't say anything as Bakugou slides off the fence, starting to walk towards the roof entrance. But as he nears the door, he hears, "Do you still feel it? The mark?" His finger twitches. He doesn't look back. Yeah, I do. The suspension goes by quicker than he thought it would. He's still miles behind the rest of his class. While he's gone, everyone has gotten started on finding work studies. It turns out, while he was scrubbing the bathroom, Kirishima had already landed a position with Fat Gum. He pushes down the ugly, twisted feeling in his gut and just congratulates his soulmate. It must be hard to watch everyone else improve, Handok says during their one session. But remember, other people's progress has no bearing on your worth. At the very least, he's not completely alone in this. Aizawa, for one, doesn't have his license either, and Sarah, Kamina, and Ashito haven't managed to find a work study, so it's not like he can't shit on him for not having one. I don't believe they would look down on you because of your struggles. They're soulmates, Bakugou. Handok says, head tilted, notepad in hand. Bakugou just huffs. None of this is easy, but hey, Bakugou never been one to back down from a challenge. No one really knows what's been going on with the work study students, but it's clearly something that's affecting all of them because they've been talking a lot. Huddled quiet corner, shutting right up any time someone comes close, but none of them will spill, not even Kirishima. Kaminari tried. Sorry, there was a spider. Fuck. Okay. No one really knows what's been going on with the work study students. It's clearly something affecting them because they've been talking a lot, huddled in a quiet corner, shutting down any time someone comes closer, but none of them will spill. Not even Kirishima. Kaminari tried, and it somehow ended up with falling down the stairs. The second all of them are pulled out of class, everyone knows shit is going down. They manage to get through the rest of the day relatively focused, but as soon as the last class is done, everyone gathers at the dorm common room, stalking various news feeds and waiting for any shred of information about what's going on. The waiting nearly drives Bakugou insane. Around 3 hours in, Yarozu lets out a yelp. Everyone turns to her and starts reading from her phone. This just in. Massive amount of police officers, accompanied by at least a dozen procurators, we spotted making a move on a compound believed to be associated with the Shia Saikai. Among them, there are BMI hero Fat Gum and Almaid, elusive former sidekick Sir Night-Eye. This has to be them, right? I think I overheard Midoriya mention the Yakuza were involved, Jiro says, spinning one of her jacks around her finger. Were you spying on our classmates? Ida asks, offended. No, I just maybe accidentally poked out one of my jacks to the walls near what they were all talking. That's gonna be okay. They're gonna be okay, right? Zero interrupts, brows creased, and he turns Bakugou, right? Ashito jumps into Bakugou. Ashito jumps before Bakugou can think. Of course, Kirishima's tough as a rock, and so are the rest of them. You gotta believe in them. Everyone murmurs an agreement, and Bakugou bites the inside of his cheek and keeps an eye on his bicep, just in case. It takes until 11 o'clock at night to get an update. President Mike had dropped in an hour early to try to get them all to go to sleep since Aizawa wasn't here to do it himself, but it seems just as nervous as them, so everyone got away with staying up past curfew. Still, when Ura and Tsuyu walk through the front door, most of them half asleep or close to it. Bakugou, on the other hand, is wide awake. Where's Kirishima? He asked before anyone has a chance to speak. Still at the hospital, Uraka says, stifling a yawn. At the pain kick looked rapidly spread across their classmates' faces. She tags, he's okay though. It took some damage during the fight. He needs a couple more hours before recovery Europe will let him go. What about Midoriya? Ida asks, face tight with concern. Bakugou listens for the answer too. He's fine too, but... She trails off for the first time. He registered the red tinge around her eyes. The way she's shaking even as she tries to hold herself up. We can't talk about everything yet, Tsu jumps in, touching a hand on Uraka's shoulder. Bakugou doesn't care about everything else. As long as Kirishima's okay, as long as Deku is too. He closes his eye, releasing a breath he hadn't realized he's been holding. Part of him wants to march out of here, right into the hospital, just to make sure, but somehow he doesn't imagine Aizawa being too happy about that, and he's on thin enough ice as it is. Should we go to bed then? Kaminari suggests, but even he doesn't sound satisfied with the idea. Ashito sits up smiling. I've got a better idea. At exactly 2:27 a.m., Bakugou looks up from his phone. Kirishima opens his bedroom door and pauses. Everyone else is fast asleep. Still on a tape hammock in a corner, Kaminari curled up on a pillow on the floor, Ashito on the bed, and a face pressed into Bakugou's side. Her knee awkwardly bent to touch his. He's not so briefly considering shoving her off the bed, but before time her horn had nearly stabbed him. But when she snored, and he just rolled his eyes. What? Kirishima says, voice groggy, hands rubbing over his eyes. He's still got bandages around his forearms and down his forehead and down his arms, but he doesn't look too badly hurt otherwise. Get in here, Bakugou says, keeping his voice quiet. He scoots into the corner of the bed, pulling Astro as gently as possible with him. Don't turn on the light, you'll wake these idiots up. They're not idiots, Kirishima says as he shuffles in, closing the door behind him. The dull thud and a quiet curse from Kirishima, but Bakugou knows he makes it when the bed shifts and creaks. You good? Yeah, I think so. A hand touches Bakugou's chest, patting its way towards his arm. For a moment, Kirishima presses his knuckles against the shared mark. Bakugou takes his first easy breath since that morning. Then it falls, as Kirishima lays down, starting to put the blanket over himself. Did what you said. Stood up, tried to be strong. You already were, moron, he said. He's only met with a snore. Rolling his eyes yet again, Bakugou slips his phone in his pocket, adjusting until it's lying on his side, trying to keep two muscular hero students from crushing him into the wall. Kachan, can we talk? Bakugou looks over. Deku stands on the other side of the kitchen counter, his hands wriggling against the other so tightly. Bakugou would be surprised if he didn't manage to pop a finger off. We're already talking. I know that, it can't be here. He shrugs, abandoning his protein shake, and Kamadara will probably come snatch it anyway. Fine. They got up the roof again. He really not sure how to feel about this conversation spot, but if he's being honest, immediately Deku's began pacing, muttering indecipherably to himself. If you want to talk to me, nerd, you have to fucking talk. Oh, yeah, sorry. Deku says, coming to a stop. Kachan, I need your help. He cocks an eyebrow with what? My quirk, or all my quirk, one for all. His jaw sets. That's a familiar fire in those wide green eyes. I need to master it so no one else dies. Bakugou exhales. He heard about Night Eye and the aftermath, but it's the first time he's hearing Deku mention it. What do you need from me? You're the only other person who knows about it, and All Might is great, but you can't beat the shit out of him to figure out how your quirk works. Not how I would have put it, but yeah, pretty much. Deku says, crouching the back of his neck, Look, Kachan, you were right. I'm not ready to forgive you yet. I don't know if I ever will be, but I think I trust you enough to do this. He reaches his hands out from the corner of his mouth and quirked with a hopeful smile. Will you help me? Bakugou slaps his hand into Deku's. Sure, why the fuck not? He tries not to be disappointed when his hands comes away bare. Medial training is a pain in the fucking ass. Literally, Bakugou pretty sure he has bruise on his butt from where one of the gang orca fuckers knocked him into a rock. When it's over, Bakugou chases in the lockers next to Ice Hot, Todoroki. Deku keeps chiding him whenever he says the nicknames for the bastards, even though he could have come up with much worse. They usually go through a process in silence, too exhausted to even make a jab on one another, but today Bakugou catches a glimpse of something, a ring of brilliant blue around his upper arm. It's gone in a second, covered by his t-shirt, but he doesn't know what he saw. What the fuck was that? Todoroki folds his hero costume carefully. What was what? The mark on your arm. The mark on your arm, he says, too sharp. Unless you've fucking got a tat, that was a soul mark. It's none of your business. Todoroki's voice Todoroki's voice is as even as always, with a slight downward tilt of his mouth, giving away. What is it from? A villain or something? Eyes cross across the locker as Todoroki slams it shut and turns his gaze to Bakugou. There's only a small flicker of anger there, but more emotions than usual. Why don't we talk about what you did to Midori instead? An obvious deflection, but it works. Bakugou shifts. He told you? It's hard to hide those kind of scars. Todoroki tilts his head, red hair falling away from his own burnt marks. It's not like that anymore, he says, crossing his arms over his chest. I've heard that before. Todoroki snaps back. There's only one person Bakugou knows that would say something like that. I'm nothing like that shitbag. That shitbag who wouldn't stop at anything to become number one and didn't care who got hurt in the process. Sounds familiar. His eyes narrow, ice cracks and splinters along his cheekbones. Then takes a deep breath. Ice melts away. I'm letting this go because Midori asked me to, and Bakugou exhaled, trying to keep his palm from popping. And you and Bakugou were soulmates once. He was never soulmates with any of us, but let's make this clear. Todoroki steps closer. If you ever hurt him like that again, I will not hesitate to end you. A month or two ago, Bakugou would have fought him. He would have thought twice before blasting that strawberry shortcake motherfucker through the wall. Now he just nods and keeps his jaw clenched shut as Bakugou leaves. Young Bakugou, all mates calls as he leaves. Deku's already gone and rushes for a study session or something, but the retired hero had stuck around. A brief consideration continues on like he hadn't heard him before, but turns around instead. Yeah? Almay comes to a few feet away, one bony in hand rubbing at a juncture between his neck and shoulder. A common gesture for him, and Bakugou noticed. I want to check in with you. We haven't spoken much since Bakugou's training. Spoken much outside of Midoriya's training since. Well, fine. I'm fine, he says with a shrug. Are you sure? How's therapy going? What do you want to know? He snaps when winds of internal old habit dies hard. Internally, old habits die hard. The old man frowns. Young Bakugou, Midori may be my successor, but that does not mean I do not care for you, the rest of your classmates a great deal. If you don't want to talk, that's alright. But don't think I'm doing this to be for the mere pleasantry. He reaches his hand out and lets his finger rest on Bakugou's shoulder, exposed by his tank top. Feels like a ray of sunshine hitting Bakugou's skin. Though, I thought that was proof enough of that. His mark is still there, even after how weak Bakugou is. Even after he had plenty of chances to see the kind of person Bakugou is or was, he's still here. Bakugou exhales a bit of tension draining from his frame. Sorry. Therapy's fine, I guess. I can see you're improving more and more each day, All Might says, beaming, and he breaks the contact in favor of wrapping his long arms around Bakugou's shoulder instead of beginning to guide him. Now, tell me more about your plans for the Culture Festival. When Aizawa says that Bakugou and Deku are paired together for training exercises, he almost laughs, and then he realizes it's not a joke. Deku takes it in stride, immediately running over and beginning to mutter over his shoulder, and Bakugou meets the intense, narrow gaze of his classroom teacher. The message is clear. Try again. He turns to Deku's shoulders squared and interrupts the buzz of incomprehensible incomprehensible muttering. What are you thinking? Deku grins, nearly bouncing on his toes as he points at the ground. There's a tunnel system below these buildings. If we go beneath, we can. It's not easy. Not exactly. Bakugou still snaps and growls and dismisses stupid ideas, but Deku pushes back just as much, and together they manage to come up with a decent plan that takes down the tail guy and Tokuyama. He hadn't realized how in sync their extra training together had made them until they're actually fighting together, moving in tandem. Bakugou lets loose a big explosion, and Deku tries to cover to land a kick on Ojiro's stomach. Deku leads Tokuyama around the corner, and Bakugou catches Dark Shadow by surprise. Ojiro manages to trap Bakugou in the hallway, and Deku comes blasting towards the wall. Then 10 minutes left on the clock when Ojiro manages to retreat. Bakugou starts to go after him, and then Dark Shadow smacks him through a window, already smashed, thankfully. Or Bakugou would have been going straight to a cover girl, and he loses sight of both of them. He tries to sit up, only to groan and fall back, his head thudding against the concrete floor. The stupid bird got him right in the chest and knocked the fucking wind out of him. He's about 2 seconds away from blasting himself onto his feet, and a shadow moves over him. Are you okay? Deku asks, squinting down. I'm fucking fine, Bakugou growls. It had to have had a lot more bite if he hadn't been wheezing so much. Here, Deku offering his hand, stares for a moment. The tiny hair, bare of any color, stretches out to him, white green eyes, looking worried even though they weren't soulmates, not anymore. Before reaching back, letting Bakugou pull him off the ground. Come on, Deku says, not pausing even to beat as he starts to climb the windowsill. They're getting away. Bakugou hangs back, though. He looks at his hand even though it's gloved. He can still feel the empty space there. The weight still pulls, even if it's a little more gentle now. Things aren't fixed. They might not even completely be. He knows he might not ever be able to rebuild what he tries to carve out of himself for so long, but Bakugou jumps through the window and starts to follow after Deku, and he thinks maybe he's starting to accept that. All he can do is work as hard as he can and keep reaching out. Okay, well, this is the end of chapter 1. I started recording this, I think over 5 days ago or something like that. It was literally the next day after I posted the last episode. Well, the last podfic, so. And I've been reading it over those days. I think it took over a few days, but been exhausted, and yesterday I had to go to a funeral, and that was just very draining. So even though I really wanted to because I like doing this, it was just lots of energy. And I also didn't expect this to take over an hour long because, I just really wasn't expecting that to take this long, but, can't really control. But a new podficer apparently has this thing where they can see how long it would take to read a fic, and I do hope they respond to my comment because this would save me so much hassle. So if I want to find a fic that's not as short, it's going to be easier. Well, instead of this, because my mind, there's 2 chapters and it's approximately over 10,000 words. 10,000 words in my head is not that much, but at the same time, I don't usually check the time when I read, so I don't see how long it takes me to read it. And especially when I read out loud, because when I read out loud, when I read in general, I always have issues with what I'm reading. So if I'm reading to myself, I don't really care if I misunderstand something here and there. I get the gist of it. But reading it out loud, I have to reread it so people can understand. And I always feel so bad because I had to keep repeating, and I've been having so many stops So I just want to say sorry for that. Also, earlier, I'm sorry, there was a spider literally on a web coming right down in front of my face, and I freaked out, and I slapped it on my computer. Also, I tried a new audio setting. I don't think it's that great. I'll be trying with my tablet next time, so it might be better. I don't know. I'm just trying different audios, trying to see. So, like the audio right now on my Chromebook is with the camera. I think my laptop might be better, and I can use my laptop as a computer because of the settings, so it might be convenient, but I'm not sure, so I'll have to find out. Aside from that, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I also want to give a shout out to Rat Satan for literally being there in every comment of every podfic I listen to every single time, and listen to my last podfics, because yeah. So if you guys see Rat Satan in any of the podfics that you listen to, just don't be surprised. It's always no, they're always there. They pop up magically inside the fucking comments, and it's just like, what? Anyway, yeah, so shout out to Rat Satan. Great to support. They're a great supporter of this community, so yeah. But yeah, anyway, I'm gone off track. Sorry for this being so late. If I wasn't planning on this taking this long or anything like that. Sorry if there's lots of pauses and different tones and everything. I'm just trying. I didn't think this would take this long, so I just kind of got along with it. I was thinking of just trying out different things. I'm trying to make Bakugou's voice a bit rougher. I'm also on and off getting sick, allergies, this and that, so some days it might be a bit more different than other days. And I also have asthma and I vape, so I don't know if you realize, but sometimes I have a bit of issues breathing while I'm reading, so I'm sorry about that. But don't vape or smoke while you have asthma, because that's gonna kill your fucking lungs. Holy crap. But yeah, anyway, have a wonderful evening if you guys are seeing this when I post this, and the EST time. If not, I hope you have a great day, lunch, afternoon, wherever you are, whenever you listen to this. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you have any tips or criticism, send it out. I try to take more breaks, and I don't have the time to really put these together. I just kind of read it all and leave it like this because it's less work for me. I'm just mainly doing this for fun. But if anyone has any criticism or anything, I would seriously appreciate it so much. So thank you. Have a wonderful whatever, and I love you, Hans. Bye.